In 1993, I got to do something I always wanted to do. I got to teach at Bethany College of Missions in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it's now Bethany Global University, but at that time, we were training missionaries, and now it's a full four-year college. But my son, as part of that program, had gone to Slovenia for his internship. That was 10 months in Slovenia. And my other kids had gone to Europe, and so I was kind of jealous. I thought, what is this business, you know? I'm going to go. So I said to Matt, he was home from Slovenia, I said, why don't the two of us, I'll pay, and we'll go together over there. So we did. We got a ticket, and we went first to England and Amsterdam and Holland and down to Germany and then through Austria and then into Slovenia and finally to Croatia. Boy, it was a big, exciting trip, 6 weeks long, cut short by sickness in the family. But when I was coming across from Zadar in Croatia to Italy, I met some guys on the ferry we were taking, and I began to witness to them. And they were open, and then I went downstairs and I met a woman and her daughter, and I began to witness to them. And then when I got to Ancona, Italy, I went into the hotel and began to witness to the hotelier, and it just began to open up. And God right there called me to go to Italy. Now, I had a good job. There's been many times I've had a good job, and God has said, I want you to move on. So I had a good job and felt the Lord call me to go to Italy and to Europe as a missionary. This was 20 years ago. I had no money to do this. I had to leave my job to do it. It took a few years to get through that. But I went home, and Jeannie was there, and she was sitting out on the back porch about 2 days later after I got over my jet lag, and I said, Jeannie, I think the Lord's called me to go to Italy. I was 54 years old, into Southern Europe, and she looked at me like, well, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't know. But she was the only wage earner then. And she said, well, let me pray about it. And 2 days later, she came back, and she said, well, if the Lord's called you, then you need to do that. And so, well, I did. I took off for that, and now we've got 20 missionaries serving there. We've got 5 churches started, and the Lord's been very good to me. I lived my whole life till that moment, till doing that. So it's been just a wonderful experience for me. There was a whole period after that I then had to figure out, well, how am I going to do this? And I had to raise money and had to get support and all of the things that missionaries have to do. And the first year I only got $1,500. Now, we still don't make a full living from it, but it does cover the cost of travel and to help other missionaries. But the way it worked with me this time was I'd had a good job. I was happy in it. I liked what I was doing. But I just had this overwhelming sense, a lot like the Macedonian call, that God had really just chosen me at that time in my life to do this. And I thought, I'm the worst missionary in the world. I have no language skills or anything like that, but yet somehow, in spite of all that, God has used the small effort that I took back 20 years ago. I just can tell you, you look back, you can see it. But at the time, my dad was a missionary to American Indians. I grew up with 28 tribes of Indians, and my dad was the pastor of the largest American Indian church in the United States at one time, and I grew up with all these tribes. So I grew up in a missionary environment in church planting things. I never thought about being a missionary. I'd been a businessman, but not a missionary. But all the time when I was a kid, I would get these little maroon biographies of these missionaries, like Hudson Taylor and different people, you know, David Livingston, and I would read these when I was around 12 or 13. And I want you to know something. I didn't read books, but I read every one we had. We had about 20 of them. And there was this thing put into me, this heart for other nations as a kid. When missionaries would come, that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be where they were. I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to have them speak to me in their language or whatever it was. But it was just something that my heart was made curious by God. And you can see that looking back. You couldn't see it at the time. But I think I was made to do what I'm doing.